Hey guys, it's William from Medellin, Colombia. I got inspired to make this quick video on kind of like a business masterclass. I really want to make this a quick video, probably won't be quick, but I've been feeling inspired to kind of put together a really short video on everything that I've learned about business and really the biggest mistakes I've made, the biggest things I've learned condensed in one. And this will be great for you, whether you are a real estate agent, whether you are a business, an entrepreneur, a remote worker, whether you have an online business, a coaching business, info product, whether you're in e-commerce, scaling, drop shipping, private branding, doing growth partnerships, equity, whatever it is. I just want to share everything that I've learned and to kind of just state some credibility here. Our business has grown to over $300,000 a month, and I want to share everything that I've learned because I've been inspired that here in Medellin, there are a lot of phenomenal entrepreneurs. This is a city with a certain culture to it. There are a lot of people who've moved here and stayed here because when you can work remotely online, this is a part of the world that I think gives you the most bang for your buck in terms of the money you earn and living a really high quality of life. And the time of recording this it's about to be February of 2025. The world is in a weird place. I think there's a lot of people out there who are frustrated with the situations they're in, and entrepreneurship and online business is definitely one of the vehicles that people take to really fix that. So without further ado, let me just get into it really quick. I'm going to do just a quick masterclass on everything I've done wrong, everything I think you need to do if you want to make a lot of money online. And I know a lot of people who are in my space, really online space, just making money online. This is going to be a really tangible video for you. And even if you're a business owner, just anybody in entrepreneurship, I want this video to be for you. So this is just one take from the heart of things I've learned. So let's just get started. I'm just going to get us rolling here. I'd say business is really broken down into three things, okay? And I learned this from a mentor of mine named Prab, just kind of joining his master classes, is that business is broken down into three things: sales, marketing, and then operations, fulfillment, back-end service, whatever you want to call it. And really, you need to solve for these three things in a specific order, depending on the business you're in. And if you're in the business that I'm in, and it's going to probably be like this for most online businesses, is number one, you need to figure out marketing first. Marketing is by far where I see most people get stuck. And usually it's because they don't know how to generate leads or sales or whatever it is. If you're an online business, they don't know, like if you're an e-commerce store, you don't know how to create compelling ads. You don't know how to create Facebook ads or Google ads or YouTube ads. Or if you're in the high ticket space selling some type of a program, or you're helping people through coaching, typically it's because you don't know how to create and craft the right message. And the right message is the hardest thing, so I'm gonna get right into that. If there's any skill that you should learn in marketing, it's copywriting. Copywriting, look it up. A really great book that was referred to me by a previous friend is Cashvertising. That's probably one of the best books I've ever read on copywriting. And I think that's honestly all you need to know. The thing about business is people like to overcomplicate it a lot. I think a lot of people like to project their personal problems onto the business. So when we have a lot of problems in our personal lives, we try to kind of project that in our business, and we think about our business the same way. If our personal life is complicated, therefore our business is complicated as well too, and it doesn't have to be. One big philosophy I have is that business is actually very easy. It's just the garbage in our head that makes it difficult. And I'll say that twice because I think it's worth remembering. Business is easy. It is the garbage in our head that makes it difficult for us. Sometimes we don't believe we actually deserve it. Sometimes we think that it's too hard when really it's not. Business is simple. Like, it's 2025. Everybody can get access to credit cards if you're in a Western world and you know how to manage credit. All the information's on there online. You do not have to go the traditional school route. I am a dropout, right? I dropped out first year into software development because I said, this is stupid. Why do I have to learn how to design websites and pay somebody tens of thousands of dollars when I can go on YouTube and watch it for free? The amount of information access out there is insane. And I think business is really simple. And I think one thing people don't understand is that business becomes a lot simpler when you can really work on yourself. And I think a theme you'll see in this video is I'll talk about business. I'll give you the tactical things, but you need to really work on yourself because your business will only grow to the limit that you do. If you have insecurities, if you have anxiety, if you don't have faith, if you don't have a lot of these important aspects that the character needs, you won't succeed. And one of those things is be, do, have. Something I learned from a mentor. Never did any personal coaching with him, but I really invested in a lot of his programs and his social media. And of course, this is an old thing. It wasn't from him, but there's this saying called be, do, have. And I'll give you an example because I know my niche is probably like younger guys in their 20s who want to buy nice things. And I'll give you an example. If you want to buy something like a Lamborghini, people think, once I have the Lamborghini, I will, that means I'm doing the things that I want to be, and then I'll be happy, right? It's like have, do, be. But it's actually flipped. It's not have, do, be. It's be, do, have. And what I mean by that is if you want to have a Lamborghini, you don't think about what do I got to do to get a Lamborghini or how do I have a Lamborghini. Just like if you go to the gym, you don't say, like I'm gonna go in here and make my biceps 14 inches, right? Like there's a certain protocol, there's a certain leading indicator that creates the leg of having big arms. And if you want a book recommendation, 4 Disciplines of Execution, you can skip the whole thing and just go to the section about leading indicators versus lagging indicators. You'll learn a lot about that because I want to condense this video. And the first thing you need to understand is that when it comes to be do have, if you want to have a Lamborghini, the first question you ask yourself is, what does the type of person who owns a Lamborghini behave like? So the question you ask yourself is, how must I behave to have a Lamborghini? So ask yourself, like that future version of you who has these nice things, whether it be a Lamborghini or a family or the relationship, how do they behave? What type of habits do they have? What time do they wake up? What food do they eat? What type of people do they hang around? What type of books do they read? Are they watching any television? If they do, who do they watch it with? What are they watching? What type of content are you consuming? Are you doom scrolling on TikTok? These are the questions you ask, and then you shift your character into becoming that person. And the funny thing is the moment you do that, everything else lines up and it's just a chain reaction. Another great book, Secrets of the Millionaire Mind by T. Harv Eker. That book teaches a framework called TFAR, which stands for Thoughts, Feelings, Actions, Results. Your thoughts create your feelings create your actions create your results. So if you want to get a certain result, it all starts with a thought. And this is the whole concept of be, do, have as well, is that you must become that person. So once you become that person, you start doing the things that that person does because you are that person. So if you want to become the person who has a Lamborghini, what does the person who does that do? They probably operate a business or are at a very high level in their job because that is a very expensive car, not really financially responsible for most people. So to do the things to afford that, it's probably going to require a lot of work, a lot of sacrifice or investment. That's a whole framing concept you need to think about. Is it a sacrifice or an investment? Think about which one is going to make it easier for you to do it. And then once you start doing those things, you start to have them. It's just a chain reaction, and it all starts with your thoughts. And this sounds so gimmicky, so woo-woo, but I'm being honest with you, that's how you do it. You become that person. So be, do, have, right? This is a business concept because as you become a good person who can run and operate a business, you will do the things that person does and have the things that person gets by achieving those things. So that's one of the first things I want to tell you. And as I lead back into marketing and copywriting is so important because I work with a lot of people and I even do coaching. People pay me, once again here for authority purposes, people pay me over $20,000 and in an hourly rate, they pay me over 900 US per hour for coaching and consulting on how to do marketing. So this is a free YouTube video I'm giving you, right? People's messaging sucks because when you have an offer, when you have a promise to someone, you have to think of it as like the heaven and hell concept. They're currently in hell and they have a heaven, right? Maybe if it's in real estate, the niche that I'm in, they are a broke real estate agent. They don't have systems. They don't have leads. They don't know how to do sales. They're struggled. They're anxious. And they want to figure out, how do I become the person with the systems, with consistent income, who has an actual thriving real estate business? Maybe I want to have a team. And you need to portray this message in your marketing and say that here's how or here's how my client, or here's how I've trained other people, or here's a system that other people have used to go from hell to heaven. And once you understand that, you can now start outlining the copywriting for your messaging. Because the problem with most people's marketing funnels is all the way from the ad, and maybe I should have had a whiteboard here when I was doing this, but this is just free flowing, all the way from the ad to the landing page, to whatever type of connection you're doing with them, all the way to the sales call. A lot of people kind of go through a roller coaster. That's what you're doing to your consumers because your messaging isn't aligned. One big problem I see people do is they really try hard to get people on a call. So they say things like, free consultation, free session, or I'm going to teach you this for free. And they get a sales call and they're told it's $10,000, right? It doesn't make any sense. The messaging is misaligned. Sure, the front of your funnel is great, but the sales calls suck because people are just completely having a different expectation. Sometimes people are working in terrible markets. You have to think about that each market has something called a majority hook, which is that the people in your niche, in your industry, there is one thing that majority of people have, the Pareto principle, and that is a problem. And for me in real estate, it's leads. A lot of agents, whether they know that this is the true problem or not, they think leads is the issue. And a lot of times it's not. Sometimes people are just lazy. Sometimes people don't have systems. Sometimes people suck at sales. But they like to blame it on leads because that's always the one who gets the flack for it. And whatever that thing is in your market, if you're selling a product, you have to think about what the pain is. Like when your customers buy something from you, you have to kind of think in their shoes as, what was the number one reason why they bought this? And that is where your messaging needs to start. So for me, when I'm trying to help real estate agents grow their business, I know that majority of agents think leads is the problem. So that's where I start my messaging. I have to meet them where they're at. So in my ads, I always talk about leads. I say, leads, 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 leads. This is the issue. This is how we solve it, etc. And it hooks them in. And if you just want to scale quickly to like 6 figures a month, you have to make sure you're using the majority hook and talk about whatever the problem is in your ad. And you have to do copywriting. The book Cash Advertising, once again, additional resource, you want to run mental storytelling. If I give you the concept here, your ad, when you show it to your in-market consumer, after they watch it, they need to feel like this person gets me, they understand me, they know my problems, and it sounds like they know more than me and they might have the solution. If your ad cannot convince somebody that or make them feel that at the end, it is not a good ad, and it probably won't scale to the level that you think it's going to scale to. But if you can figure that out through copywriting and how to write and how to really craft a message, and of course this is very language dependent. I'm a native English speaker. It is the only language that I speak at this current time. Therefore, for me, it has been quite easy, being the fact that I've also been in real estate and I've gone through those problems. I know what it's like to be a real estate agent. I know the big bottlenecks. I know what sucks, and I know how to fix it. So I do all of that in my marketing, and you have to do the same thing too in whatever your message is. And once you do that, you have to pick the right medium. I can just go off and say that if you're not running paid ads, you're not at your potential. And if you aren't running paid ads, you need to find out, how can I get to paid advertising as fast as possible? If you don't know what paid advertising is, that's using Google ads, YouTube ads, Facebook ads. Facebook ads is the best platform. There are billions of active users on it every day. Your customers, your future potential clients are on that platform right now, whether it be Facebook or Instagram. They're all the same thing. They are there right now, and you have the ability to give money to Facebook and skip all the noise and go straight in front of their face. I spend a lot of money each month on marketing, and I get recognized sometimes. People know me, people see me because of how much I spend on advertising. And you can do the same thing too, through scaling it. You don't need a big budget to start, but I do recommend, in the beginning, save your thousands of dollars that you're earning from whatever it is you're selling so you can reinvest it into paid ads as soon as possible. If you're in e-commerce like dropshipping, you probably already know this, that your biggest marketing source is going to be paid advertising. And I'm not going to talk about the different sources. I'll tell you one thing I learned from Layla Hormozi is that a lot of her clients, they can get to sometimes $8 million a month, per year, not per month, per year, 8 million off one source. And I'm not saying you want to do that because you become a one-legged stool. And a one-legged stool is not a good business to be in because it's dangerous. But if you're just trying to get $100,000 a month and you're not running paid ads, that's probably the reason why. Another thing you need to do in the beginning is a lot of people say, well, hey, I can't do this because I don't have results. I'm not in that niche or whatever. That's okay. Work for people for free. You don't have any privilege here. Work for people for free, make them successful, and say that I'll work for you for free in exchange for a testimonial. And then you build up your testimonials and credibility, and then you can use that to leverage your brand in the future so you can start having more trust when you're selling. So that's all I really want to talk on in marketing, is that paid ads, if you're not running paid ads, my question to you is, what are you doing? Because the biggest people in the business are running paid ads, and if you're not going to get up there. So run paid ads as fast as you humanly can. Yes, in the beginning, you might have to go through some grit work, doing some cold calling, maybe doing some networking, whatever it is, working for free. Guess what? It's all worth it, I promise you. Do that in the beginning for free, learn copywriting, make sure your messaging is aligned in your marketing, and you'll have a lot of success. All these other things like organic, I'm not a big fan of it. I do have a little bit of a personal brand. I have someone who helps me with my content, but I'm telling you right now, the way I got to multiple 6 figures a month is not through organic. It's not through filming videos. It was through learning how to copyright, crafting a message, getting in front of a camera like this, and portraying it in a clear and concise manner that is in alignment with my marketing funnel to people. And that is how I got a lot of leads for a good cost. And now I've solved marketing. Great. First pillar, done. Marketing is done. I've got in-market consumers. You also have to understand that in your market, only 3 to 4% of the people are actually going to be ready to buy. And that's how it is. When you're generating leads online, don't be silly and think that 100% of the leads that you generate are going to convert. It's going to be something like 3 to 4%. It might be 2%, it might be 5%. And all that is going to lead into my next concept, which is sales. So I've been blessed with a really amazing, fantastic business partner, Sagar Desor. I learned sales from him. I learned sales from Jeremy Miner. I learned sales from Cole Gordon training. Like, there's a lot of great resources out there. You can get a lot of stuff for free, or you can invest in it like I have. But there's really no excuse to learn sales. And great books I can give you is Spin Selling. That's a phenomenal book. But one of the big shifts I've seen in the industry and why we had a lot of success also just being real estate agents was because we knew how to do something called question-based selling, or I like to call it the value gapping framework. That's how we frame it in our coaching, is a lot of people do sales off of a script. They don't listen. And I'll go down through the sales framework right now. As the first 10 seconds of any sales interaction is like a first date. Those first 10 seconds are so important. You need to be curious on the phone. You need to talk with authority, and you need to be curious, because there's a concept from a book called The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, where you want to make sure that you seek first to understand, then to be understood. Because like anything in life, if you want to have somebody understand you, they're not going to do that until you first take the time to understand them. And the way you do that in sales is by listening. We have 2 ears for a reason and 1 mouth. You want to make sure that when you talk to anybody in any sales environment, you listen to them and get a crystal clear understanding of their situation. This is applicable to real estate sales, any sales industry. You want to know, what are their pains? What are their problems? What is the hell that they're in right now? And what's the heaven that they're envisioning to get to? And see if your product or service can even help them, right? Before, like a lot of people just go straight into the sales call and say, here's what we do, feature bomb them and say, here's the price, you want to buy, and they get a no, or call me back later, or I got to talk to my wife, or I got to talk to my pet cat named Bob and see what he thinks. Get a bunch of excuses. And it's because people are nice. They don't want to tell you that, look, Mr. Sales Guy, you didn't even listen to me. You're just pitching your product. You don't know my problems. You don't know if they're going to connect or not. I feel like this isn't a good relationship, so I don't want to be a part of this. That's what happens to most people in sales. And what people in sales who are great understand is that you listen. You ask deep questions. Understand their situation with crystal clear clarity, and kind of show them the implications of what's going to happen if they don't fix this. Because we're all humans, we have problems. There's a lot of things that we sweep under the rug every day. And what a good salesperson does is he drags those problems out from under the rug and puts them in your face and says, here's what's going to happen if you don't fix this. Because think of it like if you go to a doctor, right? Maybe you have a cyst on your arm, it doesn't bother you, you're relatively healthy, it's not a big deal. But if you go to a doctor and the doctor says, well, it looks benign, but maybe we should do some type of scan so we can see, because I had somebody in the past who had the exact same thing and they actually had a cancerous thing, so we had to remove it. Would you like to kind of think about what that might look like and what that's going to entail? When you show people the implications of their actions and what the future is going to look like for them, what you're doing for them is that person lacks the leadership and the accountability to themselves, and they're seeking help from you in sales because you might be the person who can actually help them get there. For example, for me, when it comes to things like fitness, I need a trainer. I don't have the accountability to hold myself to my macros, to hold myself to my gym workouts. So I need accountability, and that's okay. We all need accountability. The best, the richest, the most happiest, the most successful, the most in love people in the world all need a level of accountability. And what a great role you have in any sales environment to be that person who changes other people's lives. I've seen it through my marketing, where our product has literally taken people to changing their lives. I'm here in Medellin with some people who've used our product, and they've completely changed their life, and now they get to experience these amazing things because of our product, because somebody in sales took the time to listen to them, talk to them, hear them out, see how our product can connect and maybe potentially take them from that hell to that heaven. And because we're doing that, that's how we get the sale done. So this could be a 4-hour video on sales training. I'm not going to do that, but what you want to do is you want to learn how to transition away from just value bombing people, just giving them preaching and saying, here's what we do, to going into question-based selling, being curious and listening, and then framing your product or service in a way that they can actually understand and say, hey, this person seems really knowledgeable. They're listening to me. It seems like they understand me and they've helped a lot of people get there before. This might be worth listening to. And if you can do that in a sales environment, you will always be successful. And with that, I'll transition to the third one, which is going to be operations. I am a systems guy. Some tactical tools I can give you is Zapier. Like, use Zapier. My business is run off Zapier. And there's really 4 forms of leverage you need to think about. You can leverage labor, you can leverage capital, you can leverage code, you can leverage media. And the best businesses know how to leverage all 4 of those. And I'll give you an example. In our business, I have a general manager. Her name is Jan. She's wonderful. Her and her husband are fantastic people that I love working with. And the way we work is, of course, we compensate her through capital for her labor, which is a specialized skill set that I've trained her on how to run our ads, how to manage our people, how to build our team, hire, fire, things like that. And she uses code to run Facebook ads for our clients. And she also uses media to put in those ads for people. So that's an example where I hire someone through labor, I pay them, they're using code and media, and it's just insane leverage. And when you really understand the forms of leverage, you can do all of them, you'll have a very successful business. So those are the 3 pillars in business. I know we're already 20 minutes in here, and those are some things that I've really learned. And I really think if you want to have success in business, tying this all together, those are the tactical things. But a lot of times, it's always ourselves that get in the way. And it's that we don't believe we can do it. And I've had situations where, we had like $40,000 credit card bills and, $36,000 to pay it off. And I would freak out over things. And I know some of you have been in way worse situations where sometimes it's 500,000, you have 10,000, or maybe even a little bit less than that. Some of you may think that's nothing. Some of you may think, oh, that's extremely difficult. But the way I've gone through all of it has honestly been through faith. And I think once I started exploring my faith and getting connected closer to God, it made me realize that I don't have to take on all the stress myself. And that if I can put that stress and all of that onto somebody else, it's a beautiful thing. And that's actually what they want for you. And I think if you look at the most successful people in your life, all of them have a level of spirituality, because life can be broken down into 4 pillars as well. So there's the 3 business pillars, but here are the 4 life pillars. You have health, you have wealth, you have love, and you have happiness/spirituality. Very common concept taught by Tai Lopez. And the way it works is that these are 4 kind of pillars where you will always be limited in your life by the one that is the weakest. So you see a lot of people who have all the money, but they don't have all the love. And that love might actually hold them back in business, because the right part in your life can completely change you. A great story I love is the guy who created Starbucks. He has a book called, Howard Schultz was his name, and the book is called, I can't remember the name, I'll put it on the screen here. But the book, he talks about a story where his wife was pregnant. Howard Schultz, the founder and CEO, previous CEO of Starbucks, I'm not sure if he still is, and he wanted to quit the business because his father-in-law said to him, look, I know you're running this little coffee business, but my daughter, your wife, is pregnant, and I'm kind of concerned that this business isn't going to provide for them. So I really want to make sure that you think about this seriously and what it's going to entail for the future of the family. And Howard took this very seriously, and he even decided to quit Starbucks. So he went to his wife, told him what happened, and said, honey, I'm gonna really probably just give this up and do something to make sure I can take care of you and our future baby. And his wife was frustrated. She said, if you do that, I will hate you. And I'm paraphrasing here. You'll have to read the book. I think the book is called Onward. The wife stopped him and said, no, you build this company. You do this, because I will not forgive you if you don't pursue this idea, because you've been working on it. And because he had that woman in his life, similar to how I have an amazing woman in my life who nurtures me, who supports me and is there for me, if I didn't have these things, I don't think I would be where I'm at. Just like if you think about a Starbucks, that would never have existed if he didn't have a woman to support him. So that's a really great example of how fixing the love pillar can really push you in life. And then you also have to take care of your health, and that should go without saying. Health is always important. If you can't see, you can't move, you can't take care of yourself, can't work, I don't have to talk about that. And then wealth, right? Wealth is an important pillar, but I think the one that gets often forgotten, and maybe I'm just projecting here my experience, is that I always didn't really care too much about spirituality until I got stuck in business. And once I started working on spirituality, my business took off. So I would ask you to consider the same thing, is how connected are you? Are you taking care of yourself spiritually? Are you connected to anything bigger than yourself? Do these things and it'll make your life a lot better. So this video is already past 20 minutes. I didn't want to make this an hour-long video, but I want to share with you some of the most important things that I've learned in business, at least kind of in this online space. Being here in Medellin is really inspiring. I've met some people who are doing 8 figures, 9 figures, and it just really shows me what is possible. And if you have people in your life as well, I'll end it on this note, is that if you have people in your life who make life difficult, just get rid of them. I'll be really honest. In some cases that's easy, sometimes that's not. I think in family, of course, you do have to have certain values and morals with that, and you want to work with your family and stay with them, and it's not easy for everybody. Everybody has a very strong family dynamic. It's always unique. Family's always a challenging thing. But you want to make sure at least the other groups that you can control, like your friend group, that you're around people who want to see you succeed. Because the worst that you can have is a group of friends where if you are successful, they don't want to see you become successful. That will hold you back. And another thing too, like I've had a very close family member, to kind of share with you the reason why I struggle a lot in business, is that I had a family member who actually didn't like rich people. They thought that rich people were bad, that they took advantage of people, and I loved this person, and I know he loved me too. And I would always say to myself, subconsciously, like I wasn't aware of this for the longest time, maybe until I was 19 years old or 20 years old, is that any time in life I got close to making a lot of money in business, I would actually self-sabotage myself and ruin the business because I didn't want that person to hate me. Right? And this is all subconscious. This is all happening in my head without me understanding it and wondering, why am I not succeeding in business? But it's because I had a very strong subconscious belief, somebody in life that I looked up to, that I didn't want them to hate me. And I knew they hated rich people. So I want to make sure I never become rich subconsciously because I love this person. I didn't want to lose that relationship. So relationships are very interesting. You have to understand the subconscious underlying dynamics that occur in your life and make sure that these aren't rising to the surface and stopping you from your goals. And if they are, you have to work towards them. And I'm not going to tell you how to do that. That's your own life journey. But just know that sometimes that is why you're not where you're at. It's because the people around you are not supporting you, nourishing you, uplifting you, and life doesn't have to be in any way worse than that. You can have a life that is amazing. And this comes from a concept called the thermostat, which is that in life we have a certain level of happiness. Like think of a thermostat right here. If I'm right here in the middle and this is my comfort zone, right? This is my comfort zone, this is where I want to live. Anytime I push it up by making more money, by dating somebody, getting closer to God, or working on my health, life gets better. And because it's not normal, we want to go back to what's comfortable, because your brain doesn't want you to have your hopes and dreams and desires. It doesn't want you to have that heaven. It wants you to survive, because that's what the brain is for. So you have to consciously work against that and say that when I make my life better, I know that I am prone to subconscious self-sabotage. So I need to be conscious and aware of my activities, my thoughts, so I don't bring myself back down. Because an interesting concept is people who win the lottery, they get really, really successful and they bring themselves back down. Same thing with people who become quadriplegics. They lose their limbs and they think their life is terrible, but in a year or two, they go back to their baseline level of happiness. And there's a real study on this, you can look it up, is that people who win the lottery, people who lose their legs and their arms, they always revert back to their baseline level of happiness because it's all inside your head. And if you want to go to upper, you don't want to go down, if you want to go up, it's going to hurt. It's going to be uncomfortable. And you have to be willing to do that, because the way you grow is through uncomfort. And if you're in the comfort zone, you're never anywhere you want to go. And one important thing I learned about money is that I like to say that people who earn a lot of money are tweakers. And by tweakers, I don't mean people who use drugs. I mean people who are just weirdos, right? Because if you're making 8 figures a year, you're a weirdo. I'll be honest with you. Like 0.01% of businesses in the USA ever get to that benchmark of making over $10 million a year. So to do that is extremely weird. Like the people who do that are complete weirdos. They don't think like most people. They don't act like most people. They also don't have the external life that people have. They don't live in amazing places. Or wonderful conditions, or where money is just an object to them, where they can spend it on whatever they want and always have more than they need. And these people live life weird. And I'll give you 2 quick stories. A mentor of mine, I asked him, I said, you know things about money that I don't, what is it? And he told me it's that he doesn't live in the comfort zone. And what he meant by that is that he would consciously make an effort to make his life uncomfortable. And the way he would do this is financially, and it's the way that I had done it too. And keep in mind, this is not financial advice, this is tweaker advice that I'm giving you. So if you want to become a tweaker and you want to become making 8 figures, you want to be a weirdo, this is weirdo advice. Preface that. So I know somebody's going to cut this maybe in the future and say, look at this weirdo giving bad advice, right? But the advice he gave was that if you're here and your wall of pressure is over here, if you're over here and the wall is over here because you've got savings, you've got plenty of money, you've got a safety net, you've got a plan B, you've got this giant gap in between you, like you're right here, and this is where your safety net is. Because you have such a wide comfort zone, if you start here and say, you know what, I want to 10x my income, and you're here, 10xing your income is going to require so much to do. It's uncomfortable, it's painful, and it's only human to not do it, because why would you? So what you have to do instead is work against your human instincts and create pressure in your life so that you have no choice but to become successful. So what he would do is he would take on financial responsibilities like cars and houses, retire people in his family, in order to say that this is my new baseline and I don't want to go back so that I have to take away the things that I've built in my life. And that creates a tremendous amount of pressure on you to succeed. And pressure, for a lot of people, can seem like a bad thing. But if you're in entrepreneurship, it is in my opinion, probably one of the only things, at least from my understanding of life at this point, I'm 27 years old, it is one of the only things that will actually make you successful. Like when I see people who have a child, like they get a wife pregnant, all of a sudden they figure everything out because they have a kid coming. They got to figure this shit out. They can't be messing around anymore. Their time is valuable. And when you have a pressure, when you have a wall against you, you are only thinking in the highest and best leverage activities for you and your business, nothing else. So you've got to make sure that you do that. Now, once you do that, like I'll give you a real example for me, is like it was cars. I would buy cars that were out of my comfort zone that, if I told anybody that I was taking on this car, here's the payment, they'd look at me and say, that's stupid. Like, why would you take on such a frivolous payment? That money could be saved, it could go into stocks or whatever. But that level of pressure was what allowed me to perform in the business, where now it can make so much money that it's way, way more than what the type of return I would have gotten like in a stock or some savings account just sitting there dying to inflation. And this is tweaker advice that I'm giving you. So I even had somebody who was a CEO of a company, a very big company. He was the president of a company that is worth over $2 billion. And it wasn't me, but he was talking to my business partner about how he was burning out and how he felt like we were stuck in the business. And the guy put his hand on my business partner's shoulder and said, "Go double your mortgage." And I sat there perplexed, thinking like, what kind of stupid advice is this? He's telling him to double the mortgage to create pressure in his life. And I thought about it and said, you know what? This isn't the first time I've heard this from a very successful person. So it really stuck with me then, is that if I'm talking to all these tweakers, these guys making 8 figures a year, these women making, 9 figures, maybe they're saying something that I should try. And I did, and it worked. And I would just give you that idea to think about too, is that you're human. Nobody is better than you. We're all human. We're all here trying to figure things out. And pressure is ultimately one of the things that make successful entrepreneurs, because we're all humans, and one of our superpowers is resiliency. Is that I know you in your life, when shit hit the fan, when things got difficult, when the wall was up to you here and you had to make that payment, or you had to do something for whatever reason, you figured it out because you're a human. And humans are amazing when they're under pressure. The real you comes out. And it's very hard for you to come out when you have $200,000 in savings and you can live and do nothing for 3 years, because the moment things get difficult, it's very easy to go back in the comfort zone. So my last piece of advice is really understand the role that the comfort zone plays in your life and get out of it, because it's the single biggest thing that will ruin your life if you let it. And if you can purposefully and responsibly, right? Like, you don't want to bankrupt yourself, you don't want to ruin the people's lives around you, you don't want to hurt your family, but you want to put yourself in positions of pressure where you maybe take on that extra payment, or you maybe take on that vacation, or you retire that person, or you help this person, or you set yourself to a certain standard where now you have to perform. You broadcast to the world what you say you're going to do so that people are watching and that pressure gets to you. Whatever it is for you, pressure has been an invaluable tool for me, and I think it can be for you as well too if you decide to use it. So those are some of the big things I've learned in the recent few years with our business growing. I hope this 30-minute video gave you some help, and maybe I'll see you in the next one.